I grew up in a small town where the black population was 2% in the community and less than 1% of them went to school with me. I was an outcast, so I'm sure you can imagine how I got treated throughout my life. I remember when I was in 2nd grade and I was the line leader. Little did I know, being the line leader would mean that I would be pet and complimented based on how exotic I looked. I was wearing a bun. When I was in 4th grade, the jokes about how my father probably left to get milk started to become the new normal because black people don't have dads. When I was in 5th grade, a girl was getting chased by a boy, and she ran behind me and yelled, "Don't shoot me! I'm not black." Now, that 10-year-old little girl probably didn't think much of it, but 10-year-old me wanted to cry. I couldn't help but reflect on my life and wonder if it was always going to be like this. In middle school, I wanted to fit in, so I started bleaching my hair and wearing it in a bun like all the other girls. I thought that if I looked like them, I'd be treated like them too. My middle school years were a time when I was going through an identity crisis. I wasn't black enough. I was too white. My hair wasn't curly enough. My skin wasn't dark enough. My family wasn't black, so I wasn't black. I was whitewashed. I hated that word. That one silly word that gets thrown around and no one understands how much it hurts. Especially when all you want to do is fit in. The first time I was called whitewashed was when I was being compared to the other black girl in my school. I kept getting told how she was blacker than me, but what I think they meant was she was darker than me. I kept getting told how she was actually black because she wore braids and had a black mom, and I was just whitewashed. All the years I had tried to fit in and be enough for somebody, and I was never going to be enough for anybody. Well, I wouldn't disagree that there's a right place and time when using the term whitewash would be ideal. Using it to refer to a person who is acting too white for your standards is not the right time. When you use the term whitewash, you are assuming that someone is embarrassed and trying to abandon their culture. But how can you say this about someone if you don't know them, or if you don't know how hard it is to try and embrace a culture they might not have grown up with? For those of you that aren't familiar with the words internalized racism and stereotyping, they are both terms that go hand in hand. It can be a result of something deeper that happens to someone, like when you call them whitewashed. Internalized racism is the acceptance of negative stereotypes about one's own racial group. So the black people let their white friends say the N-word, or the Asians that let people make jokes about them eating dogs, or the Mexicans who let people call them border hoppers. Those are just a few examples. The problem isn't that you and your friends are saying things that you'll laugh at later down the road. The problem is that when one person's actions are excused, other people's actions are overlooked. So when you go to school the next day, and all of a sudden everyone thinks it's okay to call you their N-word because you gave one person the N-word pass, you have to reflect back and wonder, if you would have cared more, would this be happening? Internalized racism is a result of stereotyping. Stereotyping is the belief that all people or things are the same based on a shared characteristic, like race. Stereotyping is when you look at someone and you wonder why they don't talk like a black person, or why she isn't pretty like most Asians, or why he doesn't speak Mexican, or why they aren't rich Indians. So you decide to refer to them as whitewashed. This is encouraging people of color to hate their ethnicities, because it is proving that they don't belong in that certain group of people based on faulty stereotypes. The true definition of the word whitewash was not supposed to be used in a derogatory way. According to Merriam-Webster, the word was used in the performing arts world to describe a film. When you would take a character whose role is based off of their ethnicity and you replace it with a white character, you whitewashed it. Throughout the years, the word has been turned into slang, and now is used as an insult for people of color, primarily biracial people who just aren't good enough for either side. I am biracial. My mom is white, my father's black. But unlike a lot of mixed kids, I grew up in a white family. If you were to ask a white person what race they are, they would say white. If you were to ask me the same thing and I said white, you'd probably look me up and down and question your eyesight. If you were to ask another mixed person the same question and they were to say Asian and black, Indian and white, Mexican and black, black and white, instead of one or the other, you would probably be equally as confused. If you were like people I've encountered, you would say something like, you may be mixed with both, but you have to choose what you look like on the outside. I will never understand why people feel the need to make people of color choose one. It's not some disease where if you don't choose one medicine, you will die. It's their identity, their culture, their background. Biracial people should not be forced to choose one when identifying themselves. We should be able to embrace both sides of our genetic makeup, not just the one that makes the most sense. It does not make them whitewashed for not wanting to choose one, or wanting to choose them all to identify with. For those of you that may not be able to relate because you aren't a person of color or biracial, let me give you a different scenario to help you get a different perspective. You wake up every morning, the same person. But now, you have two main insecurities: the way you look and act, and what people will say about the way you look and act. You do your normal daily things, but this time is different. Because yesterday, someone pointed out your two main insecurities. So now, you're hyper-aware. You can't stop worrying that you're doing something wrong because someone pointed it out. You're sad, hurt, and you just want to be normal. To people of color, the word normal is different. Normal means fitting in. Normal means talking like you're supposed to, looking like you're supposed to, acting like you're supposed to. Normal means never being different from the stereotypes people created for you. Because if you are, then you're whitewashed. There are many reasons why we need to take the word whitewashed out of our dictionary and why we need to forget the stereotypes we created for each other. Being called whitewashed creates diversity issues. We have been craving diversity for so long, and now that we have it, people are scared. Because others are acting, looking, and identifying themselves however they want to. To be able to change the judgment, we need to start by changing the way we think. It's important to know that if you find yourself expecting people to be a certain way because of their race, that you stop assuming and meet everyone with an open mind. All of you are unique in your own way. Every single one of you goes home at the end of the day and lives different lives. It is not fair to group you all together and expect you to be the same in every aspect just because you are the same race. As a person of color, it's important to realize that no matter your race, your ethnicity, where you grew up, or how you were raised, there is no set way to act, look, or live. As a non-person of color, it's important that you don't listen to stereotypes and group races together based on them. As human beings, it's important to know that if you find someone that doesn't fit the stereotypes you thought they should be because of their race, it does not mean that they are living life wrong, and it does not make them whitewashed. Throughout the years, I have learned to stop apologizing and trying to change to fit different standards and stereotypes. I have stopped trying to be normal to please others. Now, I can proudly say, I love myself, love my skin, love my hair, love my ethnicity, love my upbringing, and most importantly, I can continue living life being unapologetically me. And you should too, because the world is a big place full of diversity. And if we want to keep it that way, we have to be who we want to be, and not who we're supposed to be. Thank you.